Welcome to Business Not 101, hosted by me, Olivier Bousset, founder, entrepreneur, podcast creator. In this episode, we explore the founder's journey from their aha moment to the roadblocks and problems, to what they would have done differently in hindsight, and the unique solutions they came up with. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Ladan. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm good, thanks.
Good.
You?
Good. Thanks for joining us on Business Not 101. Let's get right into it. Please introduce yourself and give us your 60-second business pitch.
Okay, my name is Ladan. I have a PhD in computer science from SUNY at Buffalo. I am founder and CTO of Waveshaper AI. We are in the business of making audio sound better using artificial intelligence. That means we train AI models that take streams of audio apart, process them. That means, like, for example, removing the noise, improving quality, adding or removing an effect, and then reassemble them to a better quality signal. And we do this really fast, actually in real time. And this allows us to replace dedicated audio processing hardware and software that are used in many products and services.
That's really interesting. So, what was the aha moment, the light bulb moment that made you decide to start this?
Well, this is a funny question for me because my first aha moment was like, aha, I am an entrepreneur. And, I was new in the country and I was looking for a job, and I came across a job posting by a company called Tandem Launch. And I had no idea it's a startup foundry and I'm going to be an entrepreneur in residence there. So, and I also wasn't exposed to startup culture. I wasn't reading books about Steve Jobs or idolizing like founders. So I joined Tandem Launch, and then I saw this is not a regular job, but I was learning so much. I decided to go all in, and that was the very, very first big aha moment. But I also have aha moments regarding our products and business. If you wanted to replace dedicated audio processing hardware, the hardware is really fast, and most of the AI is in Python. It's very slow, and also audio files are huge for neural networks. So the first aha moment for a product was that I can implement this such that it runs fast. And then we did more optimization, and then we made it real time. So that was huge. And the second aha moment was when we had a request to try our AI for something that it wasn't supposed to do. And actually we synthesized some data, and it worked. And that was like a flash of insight of the general applications that we can do.
Okay, that's a lot. That's
Plenty
pretty
of
amazing.
aha
Yeah,
moments.
but that's really are two incredible aha moments on this. So, what were some of the roadblocks? Because I mean, obviously, there's a lot of technology behind this. So, what were some of the roadblocks you hit starting
Yeah.
this?
So, it's harder than it seemed to communicate our technology. Um, because we don't do something that doesn't exist, but we just do it in a different way. And AI is a new field, and there are lots of different interpretations and hyperbole. So it's like communicating the value proposition has been a challenge. Also, like how when some people ask, oh, what's your difference with another company that does AI? Because of all the interpretations and hyperbole, like it can be tricky to answer. So this has been a roadblock, I can say.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. And sort of now looking back at when you first started this project, and how long has it been going?
For almost 2 years and like 10 months. Oh,
Perfect. So looking back at your in this in hindsight, what would you do differently at the start of this project? If there was something you could do differently that you can say, okay, you know what, I should have probably taken this path as opposed to this path.
so I would use more visualization, more course, more demo videos to communicate the technology better. I would be also more bolder. I was pretty shy at the beginning. I was just graduated from university. I wasn't sure what my intuition is right, everything is right. So I would like be bolder.
That's a really good point. That's really interesting, and it speaks a lot to being an entrepreneur. Is, you know, that sort of mentality around you fake it till you make it, but you also have to have a lot of inner strength to be able to really launch a new project. That's something that's
Exactly.
very unique.
Right.
And I also like the point you said, visual. I think a lot of people, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think a lot of people sort of fail that. They try to either build a minimum viable product as opposed they could just do a video. And I always think of Dropbox when the original founders created a video of how the system's going to function and showed that as an actual MVP as opposed to building it, and they got funding right away because everybody didn't realize it was just a video. And I think this is powerful to be able to explain your story.
Exactly. With visualization, people like, especially with audio, is hard because people don't connect with it immediately, but visually, when they see something, definitely.
Yes, yeah, that's so true. So true. The concept of both the visual and the audio need to be hand in hand. And even though it's an audio application, so at the end, it still needs to be visually explained to investors and to people and to buyers.
Exactly.
So this sort of leads me into my next question. Did you have a business mentor that helped you along this path?
Yeah, so since I started in an incubator, so general partners in the incubator have lots of experience that you can pick, their brain. If it's okay, I mentioned actually Helge Sitzen, a CEO of Tandem Launch, has been a great mentor to me. Also, along the way, we met a lot of cool people in audio tech space, people like Patrick Velasquez, who wrote a book about lean startups, and he is CEO of Superpowered. Also, Jim Rand is an entrepreneur in audio tech from Toronto, and he's super nice. Like, they just like help me. Sometimes even I don't ask, they they ask, check on me, how's everything going? Have you seen this? And this part of the entrepreneurship journey, I really value in it because I don't think I could get the same thing. I couldn't meet the same people if I had a regular job.
That's really interesting, and I kind of I agree with what you're saying because I think it's really important, certainly in the startup phase. Are you planning to continue to have a business coach? Is this something in your plans now that you've
Definitely.
experienced mentoring?
Yeah. Every time there is something more. Like, you're in Series Seed. You're in Seed. There's Series A. People that already have passed that step. It's nice of them that they send the elevator back and help you to come up, and they go further
Yeah,
themselves.
that's such
Yeah.
a great way to say it. Yes, so true. Send the elevator back down to pick you up. That's great. I love that. So moving along, how did you build your community around your project? Because obviously you're an incubator, it's a bit different. There's already an existing community around that. But how did you go and get an outside community, a fan base that really sort of propel your project forward?
Right. So we are pretty new. At some point we had applications in B2C, and at that point we had like ads, we had Instagram, we did like some outreach, community outreach. I personally like organic growth, but I understand, sometimes you need to do some advertisement as well. And because we are doing something in AI and audio, and it's pretty new, some like the research community is quite excited about it. But right now we are switching to B2B, and it's more cold calls and like having partners or other big companies to work with us, and that's like their CEO is doing a great job on that part.
That's an interesting. So, was there a particular reason you switched from B2C to B2B?
Yeah, so yeah, at the beginning we were just working in a music industry. We were making plugins for musicians, and it was good, though we figured out that our technology can do more things than just music audio signals. So we decided to have a general audio processing platform, and that was good for us because the total addressable market got bigger, and we could attach to a bigger TAM. And so that's we pivoted to like B2B than B2C plugin company.
That's interesting. And so now that you focus on B2C, which is a lot more social media and a lot more you're going to get your community yourself, did you switch to a sales model where you're actually planning to hire a sales team?
So we are planning to have a sales team after we do the seed raising. So right now we are fundraising for a seed round, and we are planning to have a one or two salesperson apart from our CEO to find some businesses to work with.
That's really interesting. I think this is one of the problems a lot of startups have is the sales side. Is finding people to help them to do sales. So salespeople are actually really complicated. Doing this for
Right.
about a year, I've come to realize a lot of small businesses struggle in that department. They either become the only salesperson and the only person pitching their business, and hiring people is hard because you need to educate them to your level to be able to sell your business at the
Exactly. If
beginning.
you're deep tech, yes, I imagine it's
Yeah.
going to be hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And this sort of leads me to my next question. Now looking at your business after 2 years, and obviously it starts an incubator and it starts moving up, what are some roles you would have said, hey, you know what, we should have hired this person from the start that would have helped us propel us faster along this path? It could have been an accounting or salesperson, but something you should have done from the get-go, as opposed to now you're sort of planning for it down the road.
Okay, so yeah, that's a tricky question. So I am like, we started with the tech, and I'm personally technical myself. And our first hire was also in tech, but what was lacking is someone who can communicate our technology in a good way, because I'm more nerdy introvert, and I don't have many communication skills. English is my second language. I'm learning French. So that's what we have in our CEO, and can communicate pretty well. In our new CEO, can communicate pretty well. So yeah, I think it's kind of depends on the business and what type of skills you have, and you have to get the complement of your skills that is needed for the business. And also the budget also is important right now. Like we want to have a, for example, COO also, but it's going to be after.
Yeah, it obviously is always budget, and it's complicated. I agree. It is so important to have somebody who has the ability to speak to the customer.
Exactly.
And you're not the first person. I find most technical founders have that same struggle exactly as you. I find the non-technical founders have the opposite, right? They have to
Right,
try and find the
exactly.
technical
They find
people.
some technical person, yes, that can just like sit and implement.
Yeah,
And
and be
yeah,
able to
another,
communicate to them. So a lot of them fail their projects
exactly.
because they can't
Right.
talk to each other. So it's really interesting. All right. So I would like to ask this question is, if you could leave yourself a 30 or 60-second voicemail to your past self, what would it be and why?
Right. I would tell myself that, it's gonna take longer than you think. Actually expect the tech to be manageable and everything else to be a challenge. You're gonna like your life is gonna be on hold for a while, and be bolder and just expect this. It's gonna be challenging, takes longer.
I love that. That's so true. That's great. All right. So switching gears a little bit here, we want to know about you as an entrepreneur. So one of the first questions I like to ask people is, because I'm a big, proponent of this, what keeps you productive?
What keeps me productive? I would say my Linux laptop and my iPad. Anytime that I don't code, I'm just like using my iPad for almost everything. And the rest of the time that I'm coding, I'm using my Linux laptop. And I watch lots of, when I had to learn something, I watch lots of YouTube videos. I use a lot of that. That actually makes me productive, because there are so many open source things there that you can just reuse and build on top of that. Yeah, these are the things that makes me productive.
So what motivates you then? What keeps you motivated and on track and organized, I guess, would be another question.
Okay, so what keeps me motivated? AI is such an interesting field that every week there's something new in it. And I should say it motivates me because I think I'm part of it, but at the same time it gives me so much anxiety because I feel, oh my gosh, every week there's something new and I have to catch up to to everything. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
AI. AI makes me motivated and also gives me anxiety both at the same time.
That's hilarious. I feel the same thing about cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah.
It's like nerve-wracking because it changes, but the foundations are the same. It's more the public's perception and as well the industry's perception of what it does.
Yes.
And I find there's a lack of knowledge. So people are trying to explain it in such a way, and you're feeling like you're missing on something because it's not the way you would explain it or
Right.
understand it. And so I find myself doing research on that. And same thing for AI. And then I realized, no, it's exactly the same thing as it was before. It's just now somebody had to explain it in a way for somebody else that just
Right.
is kind of new. But it is nerve wracking, these new
It
emerging
is
technologies.
exactly every week something new is coming, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, it's exciting because I'm like, okay, that's great. People are investing in this, and this is just like we're part of this. We can attach to this, but at the same time, like, oh my gosh, like if something comes like that is better, if something comes that is like I don't know, like just like make us stop. So it's both at the same time. You have to be very agile and to be able to move around and be able, yeah, to survive in these waves.
It's so true. And to stay motivated, I have a SaaS, and I always feel like you got to constantly move it forward. Otherwise, somebody's going to come along and reproduce what you're doing and
Exactly,
take it over.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got to just like execute. That motivates me.
That's excellent. So my next question is, what is one personality or trait or strength you feel is most important in an entrepreneur from your point of view?
Right. I don't know if I can like point to one. I think there are a couple of them. I can list them. So I think like having an iron stomach is very important. Like grit is so fundamental because things are gonna go the way that they shouldn't go. Everything is gonna be challenging. And I also think empathy is very important because after you make your POC or MVP, after a few months to a year, you have startup is like a couple of people working through a certain goal, and you have to keep all these people aligned. So you have to have empathy to understand what makes them motivated, what frustrates them. And because you're waiting for the next big milestone, like it's not clear, everything is uncertain, so you have to have this empathy to be able to keep people aligned. And also, like for example, for us, sometimes we hire people in the management level, and you have to keep the investors, like you hire decision makers, and then you have to kind of manage investors, decision makers, your employees, everything aligned. And I find like at the beginning I thought, oh, okay, as long as the tech works, I'm good, like we are done. But then I figure out actually I'm spending 60% of my time on communication, as you said, just like keeping people aligned, keeping people motivated, and just going. So
That's
this, yeah.
so true. Yeah, that's a great answer because that's so true. I find when you're a solo entrepreneur, it's all falls on you. And the moment you add a few people to the team, you're no longer about the product or the
Right,
service you're trying to sell.
exactly.
You are about managing the
People,
people and the
it's all about
expectations from your
people.
customers. Yeah, that's a
All
great, a
about
great answer. So my next question actually, it's kind of unique because you are in an incubator, and a few
people.
people I've interviewed have been in incubators. But one question I always never ask them, and I want to ask you, is the term "fake it till you make it." Is this something that is still pushed even at incubators, and you feel this is a common thread among startups still, or do you feel that term itself is becoming sort of passe and it should be dropped?
Right. So I've heard this word even in the incubator. But you've got because you've got to do what you've got to do, but with some ethical boundaries, right? You've got to do what you've got to do. But I personally is not I'm not a fan of make it till make it. And also it wasn't something that we could do because we are replacing hardware, so the thing already exists and is fast, so like I can't fake that. I can't fake. So for us, we don't fake anything. But if you've got to do, you have to say something exists, you've got to do it.
So we can safely say "fake it to make it" is still well and alive.
Still,
I love
still,
it.
yeah. It's still alive.
Excellent. So my next question, and I love this question, is if you can have a coffee with any entrepreneur or any business person, who would it be and why?
Yeah, that's I'm gonna have a cheesy answer for that. When I started at the incubator, as I said, I it wasn't like that I was knowing business or what's going on. I did it reverse. And then I was like in the incubator, I was like, oh, I don't know what's valuation, I don't know what's cap table, I don't know any of this. So I went to Netflix and I started watching Dragon Den. And I really like all the episodes of all the seasons of Dragons Den that were on Netflix. And I really like Arlene Dickinson. She's just so nice. And I found that like a lot of investors, if you put in their shoes if you put yourself in their shoes, like they lose money. Lots of people BSing them, lots of entrepreneurs like BS all the time, and they invest and they lose their money. And so some of them become heartless. But Arlene is like someone, for a long time she's an investor and she still has a big heart. So I really just like respect her. So that's one person. But I don't know what I'm going to talk with Arlene about because she is like investing in food business and I'm like in tech. So I think if another person apart from Arlene I could meet, it would be Sam Altman, from CEO of OpenAI, because he's also founder and investor in AI. And I think he has seen it all, and he knows with how much resource in AI you can get to how far you can get. So these two people I'm gonna meet.
Yeah, those are very two interesting people and two new people. Arlene Dickinson, I think is how you say her last name. Yeah,
Right.
she's. I follow her on Twitter, and she has some good
Yeah, me
tidbits as
too.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. All right, now if my next question is book, and what is the business book or any book that's changed your course or has really influenced your business journey?
Okay, so again, because I I didn't know many things about like business terms. The book that really helped me and I started in an incubator was Venture Deals. I forgot the who's the author, but that book like explains everything from perspective of investor and from perspective of entrepreneur, goes through all the things that's going to happen, what's term sheet, what's valuation, what's cap table, what's dilution, and that book helped me a lot.
That's right. I've never heard of that book. That's interesting. So we'll add that. Perfect. So this was wonderful. Last question I have for you is, how do people reach out and connect with you?
Okay, so I have a personal blog at IO. You can also reach me from Waveshaper AI website. It's waveshaper.ai, and my email is ladan@waveshaper.ai. Um,
Perfect.
I really like writing technical posts, so I've been very busy. I didn't have time to do it that much, but yeah, if you like techie person, I write technical posts both in the Waveshaper blog post and also in my blog post.
Perfect. And we'll be adding those to our show notes as
Thank you
well.
so much. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time and being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. Was my first podcast, but I really, at first I was nervous, but good. Thank you.
So I'm sure you'll have many more. Perfect. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for joining us today and listening to this episode of Business Not 101. I hope that this interview gave you some valuable insights and that will help you along your business journey. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to reach out to me. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Thank you. Until next episode.